Can you see all right? It's funny, we have all this branding with our glasses on, and now we're not wearing glasses, and we're going to be like,
I thought about that. I was
what
like,
was the question?
oh my God. I'm probably gonna put on my glasses.
The glasses make you look smarter, Janet.
I know.
One of us has
right?
got to be the smart one.
Yeah, put on the glasses. Put on the glasses.
Okay. All right. So here we are.
Here we are.
Hi, thanks for joining us on Reflect, Recalibrate. Woo woo. We're so happy you're here. Remember to tell your friends, your family, and your foes, yes, your foes, that they too can learn about artivists and artivism by subscribing to RFC anywhere they listen to podcasts. They can also watch and subscribe on YouTube at Reflect Calibrate the Podcast. Well, I think that's that. Now let's get into it.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Happy February.
I know, right?
Happy to the rest of 2021.
Oh Lord. Happy to the rest of 20. I was just like, it's already February. Like it's already February. How does this happen? Like what? But anyhow, we have to introduce ourselves.
Who are you? Who are you, Janet?
Well, I'm Janet E. Dandridge.
And I'm Danny Snyder.
Welcome everyone to Reflect, Recalibrate. So yeah, it's February. It's February. It's already February. I can't even believe it.
I can. I'm ready for 2021 to be over. I'm totally, I can believe it.
Wait, you're ready for 2021 to be over already?
Nah, not really. Not really. Actually, I am excited about things coming up. I'm excited about this podcast, for example.
Yes. We've been working very hard on this. So I'm very much excited for this day. Yes.
Because we have a goddess with us today.
We do. But before we bring this goddess into the space, I wanted to chat real quick about something that you brought up, Danny, online. It was something I saw and something that I've heard in the news, but this major piece of legislation about private prisons. So can you, because this is your field, like this is your area of expertise. This is what you've been working on. One of the many things you've been working on. I'm really curious, like, what is this legislation? Like, what does it mean? Because I don't want to say anything because, I'm not well versed in it. I'm aware, but I need to hear from the expert, Danny.
Oh gosh, that's a lot of pressure, the expert. So, and this is the thing, is like, I'm an expert in making art, but not necessarily an expert in making legislation. And I'm learning more about what exactly is the process, I should say. What's basically happening is that Biden has ordered the Department of Justice to end its private prison contracts. And there's still so much more to do in the realm of prison abolition. Yeah. Which, if you don't know what prison abolition is, go check out our glossary. It doesn't just mean letting prisoners go free into the wild. It means actually building a rehabilitative system, right? So there's still so much more to do in the realm of prison abolition, but this is a big step. This is a big deal that we are ending private prison contracts, and that, again, it's just a small part of the prison population, right? But still a big deal. So if you don't know much about the prison industrial complex, I think that's actually something we're going to probably talk about in our next episode, but I don't want to give too many spoiler alerts yet. But that is something that I definitely want to be talking about in this podcast, because, again, like you said, Janet, it's something that's very near and dear to me. I used to teach in juvenile detention centers, and I also wrote a book about artivism in Washington, D.C. that is trying to abolish prisons. When I made a post on Instagram, which I'm guessing that's what made you think like, oh, we should bring this up because this just happened. And I'm very particular about when I make political posts like this, where this wasn't a piece of art. This was just me saying like, fuck yeah, we're getting rid of fucking private prisons. That's pretty much what the post was. I was surprised by how many people responded to me, mostly in private message, actually, not on commenting actually on the post, which I find interesting too.
Interesting.
that they're nervous to comment on the actual post, that they'd rather send me a private message, which is
Huh.
fine. Which is fine.
Yeah.
At least there's some dialogue. We're sparking some dialogue, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
some of the people contacting me who were surprised that they either didn't know that this was a thing, that there was such a thing as private prisons and what that means, right? Or why this was such a big deal, right?
It's crazy that privatization has happened within the prisons. I mean, it's logical in terms of understanding the history of this country, but it's crazy that it's like, hey, you know, if it's privatized, they're going to have incentives, you know, related to money, to greed, to bring in as many prisoners as possible. So right now with this legislation that President Biden has signed off on, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. It makes perfect sense in terms of, you know, understanding that humans are humans and not just objects that are just supposed to be misused for profit. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what actually comes of this and what else comes of the prison abolition advocacy. Is one more thing that I want to talk about, because it is February, it is Black History Month. And today, I think the screening of Judas and the Black Messiah, I believe is the name of the movie by Shaka King, is premiering at Sundance. And that's about Fred Hampton and William O'Neill. William O'Neill is the FBI, basically he's the person they planted within the Black Panther Party to get close to Fred Hampton so that he could, you know, infiltrate and get information on Mr. Hampton. And that's what led to his assassination by the FBI, COINTELPRO, and all of everything that was happening at that time in terms of getting rid of the Black Panther Party. So I'm looking forward to seeing or watching this movie because I'm just curious, you know, from what I understand, the humanizing of William O'Neill, you know, as opposed to the villainizing, you know, like, you know, him being a villain, you know, being this Black man who infiltrated the Black Panther Party and assisted in Fred Hampton getting murdered. However, he is a human being who was in a position within his life where he had to make tough choices, from what I understand in listening to Shaka King talk about this movie that he directed. So that's something I'm interested in and I'm going to be watching, you know, especially since it's Black History Month. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be taking notes, looking at my phone, just typing in things that, you know, we need to make sure we have in the dictionary on our landing
in the glossary
page. Yes, and we have another name for it, but I want people to go there and check it out, and then they'll see the name and they'll be like, "Oh, this is so much fun!"
Oh, that's right, that's right.
But yes, yes, yes. So,
informative and entertaining.
Informative and entertaining. So yeah, with that being said, informative and entertaining, thinking about the goddess we have here.
Who is this goddess, Janet?
Who is this goddess? Oh my God. Where are you, Liliflor? Come to us, please, Liliflor. Yeah, give a round of applause.
Liliflor, she is a creative cultural architect. I love that. A creative cultural architect that's always showing people and communities what's possible, helping folks to see the best versions of themselves through art, design, healing, spirituality, and the preservation and celebration of their own cultural assets. So basically, in short, she's a multi-dimensional hybrid visionary Diosa Chingona badass goddess.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, actually, my friend helped write that.
I love it.
They did a wonderful job. They did a wonderful job.
Yeah, it was a collective process.
Yes, y'all did a wonderful job. Y'all did a wonderful job.
I would like to read a little bit more here just to give people an introduction to your art, because you do a bunch of different stuff and work with a bunch of different materials. So your fine art, your murals, your mixed media, all of it, from what I've seen, and I know Janet will agree with this, is absolutely breathtaking. You use so many different mediums like aerosol, acrylics, stencils, Sharpie ink, pastels. I don't even know what this is. And maybe one of you guys could explain to me. Paper amatl?
Amate.
I don't even, what is that?
It's a paper. It's an old paper. It's used for sacred writings and in Mesoamerica.
It's fiber based, right?
It's fiber based, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
So
just
you use
paper in it.
that?
So I did mix. Yeah, I've done work with that, and actually I have some stuff, and I always like pull it out and just use it when I do mixed media work.
You also use printing, you use found objects, you upcycle materials. So lots of stuff. And then also beyond just being an artist, you're also a teaching artist. You do guest lectures, again, using art as a tool for education, cultural awareness, civic engagement. That's the main thing we really want to get into, but also healing. And that I think goes into civic engagement, of course. Well, I say, of course, maybe our listeners are like, wait, huh, what? And we can get into that later. So I am super excited about you dropping some knowledge on us today, some of these very diverse experiences that you've had with art, culture, everything.
And so start off chatting with Liliflor. Let's see. In your utopia, Liliflor, there would be what? Or who?
Oh, in my utopia, oh my God. Wow, in my utopia, there'd be a lot of things. I don't want to like be really my utopia. My utopia is pretty nasty. Nasty good. But about my utopia. But my actual utopia would be that, of course, that we live in we would transcend into an eco-friendly environments throughout the world, and that we'd have sustainable living for all human beings, and that we definitely have equality throughout the globe. And I'm not just talking about the United States, I'm talking throughout the earth, and every continent that exists on this planet, if there was a utopia. And if there was a utopia, I'd give everybody acid or some peyote and some kind of introspective work, so that we could elevate our consciousness to better living situations and treat each other with a good hearts, and eliminate a lot of the ills that we see right now in society. If that was a utopia.
That sounds wonderful to me. That sounds excellent.
You smoke weed every day.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like,
I love that too. We sent Liliflor a list of questions before our first podcast, and one of them was like, what do you like to do in your free time? And she was like, oh, for leisure, I like to smoke weed. JK. I'm like, yeah, JK, of course. No, who likes to smoke weed in their free time?
All right, just oust me, right?
Oh no.
All good. It is it's all natural, and I believe it's a healing medicine, and my mom grew it to make medicine, and so I learned how to do traditional medicine with it too. So hey, if it helps people, it's either that or you're on Prozac, on some kind of like medicines, to be able to cope with life, and it shouldn't be a crutch like anything in life, but it's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. And it actually connects to what you said in your utopia. That's why, Danny brought that up. And it connects to something else that we both were interested in, that you speak of on your website, which, I'm aware of, but I would love for people to understand more of it. And I don't want to say this incorrectly, so please correct my pronunciation of this. The natural cosmology?
Nahuatl.
Nahuatl cosmology. Okay, so I know we're both interested in the Nahuatl cosmology aesthetic experimentation, and we want to chat about that. Can you elaborate on the influences, in your indigenous roots, and how you use art specifically for healing and social change through this Nahuatl
lens?
Now
Use
what
the scope.
cosmology?
Now what?
What?
Now what?
Now what?
Now what?
Now what?
Or now what?
Now
Now what? It's a
now
little
what?
bit silent. Now what?
Now what? Now what?
Or now what?
Cosmology.
Or some people say now what? But
Okay.
It sounds like you're saying now what? Now what?
no what? No what?
I want a K. I want a K.
Now what? Okay.
Now what? Now what? All right.
Yes,
Moving on.
So yes, so my influences in Nahuatl cosmology and creation stories, of course, and these creation stories have teachings, and so I integrate that into my work because that's I want to honor my ancestors through my work as well. Either I like to do it like what to say ubiquitously, you kind of put it in there and it's there, you see it or you don't, but energetically is there, right? And the intention is there. Now what cosmology has been an influence on me, growing into myself and into adulthood from, my beginnings into activism and organizing, and then eventually, of course, integrating that into my artwork and taking that to the next thing. And then eventually through time, I started, I met, some professors at school at East LA College. One of them, her amazing curator and artist, Sybil Venegas. She's amazing if you ever look up her work in writing about art and culture. So I took one of her classes and I was just like, okay, oh my God, like this is my culture, right? And then I was like, where's the sweat lodge? Like, what is it? Where can I go? Was it the Mezcal? Really, that's really when my curiosity went to the next thing. And it was my early 20s. And I remember just being really curious. So then I definitely read about it, studied some of the codices and the meaning behind it, and studied the Tonal Poali with Oropesa Ramirez, also an amazing maestra from UCLA. She taught Mesoamerican cosmology and Tonal Poali, which is the sun calendar, which as the Aztec calendar. So I studied that with her in World Arts and Cultural Department in UCLA. And so just these people I just kept meeting along the way and just being nourished with that knowledge. And it really inspired me to for some of my paintings. And if you look at some of my paintings, they actually have some of those stories in there, or some of the depictions of the actual hieroglyphs and symbols of the Nahuatl and Mesoamerican cosmology within them. So and also, of course, if you ever get to read México Profundo with Guillermo Buenfil, amazing writer. Also, if that's just you're living in Mexico City, that's an amazing book to read. Some also Aztec thought and culture, and just different books throughout my lifetime from actual people who have studied it, or master authors, philosophers, and culturalists. And so that's been my influence. And then, of course, because I grew up in a family that integrated Catholicism with Mexica or Aztec culture. So it's like integrated, right? Because of colonization. And so just kind of deciphering the religious part into what I felt that was needed to bring up, to highlight, because it's in there. And so I wanted to really bring that forth. So that's the inspiration.
I love this idea that it's embedded in the art, and even if we don't maybe know it or understand it or recognize the symbols there's a certain energy that it provides. And I guess I'm wondering, like, how is that been effective in your objectives as an artist activist, for example, or like in trying to heal or transform your communities?
Well, results or different experiences with people, like for example, when I've done murals and I've done the compositions and painted them, and just like when you actually paint murals, it's an interactive art process. You know, it's kind of like I tell people, it's like a concert. You know, you're outside and people drive by, they stop, or some people like stop and want to have a conversation. So then I start telling the story and I say, this is a symbol, this is a unang pu, you know, this is means, you know, this and that. And then I just tell the story and I point out the symbols. So it's a teaching moment. So then that's where dialogue, conversation, and civic engagement and healing process begins with the people that I'm servicing or the places where I'm painting, the communities, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the experiences. I mean, you have people come, sometimes they'll come, and they've done it. Like they've brought their little fold out chair, sat down, and they brought me coffee, donuts, whatever, drinks, whatever. And they sit down, they just watch me paint. And like, I'm like, this is really cool, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you know, you have these interactions and you share stories and they start sharing stories. Oh yeah, well, I recognize that. Oh, my mom told me this story, or I remember my grandmother, or, you know, depending, you know, what the image is. So there's been that kind of thing. Like when I did have a piece called El Remedio, which is from a piece, actually a photograph I took of my mom putting on the remedy, like I said, the cannabis remedy, actually, traditional one. So she was pouring on her knees, and I said, oh, I can't take a picture. My mom said, just don't take my picture of my face. I was like, all right. So I said, I'm going to do it because I'm going to use it as reference to do this painting. So I did, and I did this painting, and I put in that medicine, and people are like, oh my God, that reminds me of my grandmother. My grandmother used to do that medicine. And so that's the kind of like reactions or conversations that I've gotten from creating pieces like this. And I've actually had also people come and they've cried. Like when I did Mujeres de Juarez, I did Mujeres de Juarez, the women that have been are currently still being murdered at the border of El Paso and Juarez, unsolved mysteries, right? So I did this piece, and this lady's like, oh my God, like, this is so beautiful. She's a crying. She's all just, you know, she said the color pink kind of did something for her, the crosses and everything that I did on it. And so those are the kind of reactions I've had.
Wow. Wow.
I have a follow-up question again, but Janet, let me know if you have a follow-up question too. I don't want to hog Liliflor.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. It's all good.
What I'm wondering is, I love the idea of, I feel kind of naive. Like I forgot that making murals, for example, or making pieces outside of a studio and also within a studio, but like out in public is a very interactive process, actually. Like I forgot that it's interactive with pedestrians, with the community. And I'm wondering, I love that there's dialogue happening there in the creative process. And I'm wondering, how do you maybe continue and monitor dialogue beyond, like once the piece is finished? How do you, like, I'm sure people still walk by, right? And it sparks conversation, right? Which is, we can't really monitor that easily, but I don't know if there's any tools or things that you've tried as far as to keep the conversation going and to keep being a part of the conversation.
Oh, that's interesting that you say that. Well, I haven't per se organized anything, or I'm going to continue the conversation or anything like that. It's just either people have tagged me, or like, oh, I've been there, or I've seen write-ups with my work that I didn't get credited for, by the way. But anyway, like, wow. Yeah. So like, but because that brought on conversation, you know, like for example, when I did the Tonan scene with the Koyo Shauki, I did a mural and someone did an article, and then currently somebody else, I just posted an article too, that they actually didn't cite me, but it's okay. It's for conversation. The pieces are for conversation, right? And eventually I find them, right? Mm-hmm. And then and then also have, for example, the Koyo Shauki piece that I did in Lincoln Heights, the mural, and it was a private commission with a friend of mine, Brenda Chavez, and she actually did a poetry night in front of the mural and did this whole thing around the mural for conversation and to talk about the importance of what the significance of her commission that she had me do in her home. And so it's really, and she also did a ceremony in front of the the Virgen, the Tonantzin, and had Aztec dancers, and she had a poetry reading and this whole like beautiful thing that she did. So that's how one follow up. Another follow up was like another piece that I did at Casa One Theater. I did a civic engagement project with the California Council, and so the bike riders, one of the critical mass bike groups, they came through and they were doing bike rides through different murals, and I met up with them at both the murals actually. And so they actually, it was all about conversation about those pieces. So that's how it's honored, the work afterwards. And so other people are doing it, and I join in whenever I can. And then, it's always, that's the way I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, totally. And I feel dumb for a second. I forgot, like, oh yeah, of course people can tag you on photos, right? Hopefully they do, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about social media and about how you use social media in your art activism and in your community healing?
Well, currently, like I've been in the last year of quarantining is learning how to catch up with the new millennials, like, and how to like navigate through a new way of interacting with people with art, right? And so just really, and I had it in the beginning, really, it was like a shock. It was like, boom, you're done. Like, no more art residencies, no more gigs, so everything was like boom, falling off, like domino effect, right? And it was a really hard time for me. And I was just in shock pretty much for the first month. And then I had to shake it off and then really do some reflecting on how I'm going to navigate this. I kept fighting, being on social media, having a Zoom account, all these different things. I kind of just sort of did, but I didn't really navigate them through my art per se. I mean, I got an Instagram, like, I don't know, late in the game. I got an FB later in the game. I mean, I even had a cell phone way after when I started going to school because I had to, and I was so anti, like, I don't want to get, they want to get a hold of me, they could just call me on my landline. I had a landline, by the way, so like 2010. So I actually no, 2014 I had a landline, and then I did.
It's okay,
and
Janet still has one.
Yeah.
But so I resisted technology a lot. So this time around, this last year, I had to reflect a lot on like how I want to navigate my art and how I'm going to also be able to sustain myself as an artist, right? And how I see myself not only in 5 years, but in 20 years from now. How does that look for me, because as artists, we don't have retirement plans, dependent artists, right? We don't have like retirement plans. We don't have a 401k. We don't have those kinds of things. So really looking into that, how do I create abundance in that realm? How do I see myself having some place that's sustainable long-term where I could really nest, as opposed to in my studio right now. It's great. Right now, I am fortunate to have a great rent and a great landlord that's a blessing, but I don't own it. And so how do I create ownership in the future for myself, right? Because we fix up a place and then we get gentrified and pushed out.
Exactly.
So I don't want to continue that cycle. And so all these things, right? So it's like all this constant, like how I'm going to navigate for the next 20 years. So this time actually really it gave me a chance to really look into myself, not only in that aspect of my career, but also in my own life at home with my family, and also with myself and in my own spirit. Like, how do I want to navigate that? So I really went into deep prayer, and it's not a religious prayer, but a spiritual prayer, and did my yoga, meditations, affirmations, and really, really prayed on like, what is it that I'm going to do? So then I really put it out there and just was doing a lot of self-work. I read 8 books, and this last year I caught up, caught up with some books.
Wow.
And did those things. And then along the way I was like, okay, I had this color therapy book sitting there, and I just went right in sacred geometry, just really working that medicine, not only in my personal life, but also how I'm going to navigate the color frequency into my work, which I already have been doing, right?
Yep.
And so now really having a deeper understanding through reading and like looking at these videos, and just really delving into that process as well. So now I'm working towards also getting certified as a color therapist, and integrating that not only to be able to help others through having sessions, but also integrating that knowledge more deeply into my work and more intentional. And so that's how I've been kind of recreating, rearranging, and sculpting my path into 2021. I think, does that answer your question? I don't know if I went off.
No,
can you talk about the fact that
good.
we're all wearing yellow today?
Oh my God, look at that. We're wearing
what
yellow.
Does that mean?
Okay, so yellow is happiness, energy, the sun, right? The sun, it brings out the energy of the sun. How does it make you feel? How does the sun make you feel? It makes you feel energized, right? And that's what we're emanating energy in this way. It could be, and that's also associated with Oshun, the Orisha Oshun from the Yoruba diaspora, African diaspora. It's Oshun is also associated with sunflowers and honey and yellow. It's abundance too, right? It's being optimistic, and it also stimulates the intellectual and the creativity. So I think it's very befitting that we are all wearing yellow, and it wasn't yellow and gold, and for me, it was intentional. I mean, I believe that for you, it's also subliminally intentional. You know what I mean? So it's already in our minds.
It was definitely intentional, because we were talking about, okay, so what we're doing a show. So what is our backdrop going to be? what colors are we going to wear? And we both were saying, something vivid, something bright. And for me, I was going through different colors, and the gold just, I'm attracted to the gold. And I was like, this feels good. This feels bright. This makes me happy. And this is a great beginning to this podcast, where we're, talking to other artivists and having these great conversations. So it was definitely an intentional thing to do. And so it's just crazy, not crazy, actually, it's just the universe telling us that we're on the right path. And like you said, when you're doing these things and you're following, spirit, you're following that gut intuition, these things happen. And here we are in different places in the world, ending up wearing this color.
Totally. We're all in totally different time zones today, and in different
different time zones.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy.
That's right. So this is the energy and the frequency that I'm tapping into, and you are too. And many artists have done it anyway, even without thinking about it or reading about it. We just in our vibratory frequencies. One of color frequency is actually a very high vibration, right? That's the world, it's music and color that vibrates and makes its energy, and we're all made out of that energy. And so very parts of our bodies move with that energy, right? And I love that purple you're wearing. That's color for royalty. That's a royalty. That's healing. It's a dream state of healing, and that's vision. So you're wearing the right colors. So it's just meant to be. That's how I see it, and we didn't talk about it. I know you two probably did. I don't know, but I did, so it's in the energy. So this is a good affirmation that you are on the right path. And I congratulate you both for putting the effort into making this happen.
Yes, I'm very happy to have met Danny and this coming to fruition. I want to it's you said so many great things just now, and just thinking about everything you said. One of the things that I would like for people to know, because you were talking about the books that you read, you were talking about the sustainability of being an artist, which involves having like the funds to sustain your livelihood, once maybe you're not creating work. But the interesting thing about that is that as artists, we continue to create work our entire lives. And someone was saying last night on a call I was on that artists are one of the only groups of people who we don't have an age of retirement. We're always creating because it's just who we are. So we don't have a space where we're just like, oh, okay, at 65, I'm on retirement. You know what I mean? And I think that adds into the ideas surrounding funding for yourself as you get older, and learning about that when you're a young artist. And thinking about that, I've known you for a while, and I was just thinking, like, Lily is one of those artists who has always been doing her thing. She's always been out there, bringing in different revenue streams and figuring out how to create this sustainable livelihood. And so when I think about that, then you talked about books. I'm curious, what are you reading, and how is that influencing how you're building your business? And then I'll have a follow-up to that once you answer that question, that particular part.
Okay, so okay, kind of with the college long. So right now I'm taking a break from reading, but I am reading right now, or I do have a daily reading that I do recommend for artists. I don't know if you guys heard of Julia Cameron. She does The Artist's Way.
Yes.
Really good. So right now I bought her book on abundance, prosperity, daily prosperity affirmation. So I have that book in my altar space where I open it up every day and I read, a passage. Those are the daily things. I also have I have on the shelf, because I have I have all these, by the way, they're not decorations. I read pretty much all of them.
Right.
Okay.
But I do
actually, it's all like a prop. It's all cardboard painted. It's not actually. There's no pages.
These are either my reference books or like books that I've actually read. These are all books that I've read. But I also have at home a bookshelf, and I have books that I put like these are in line, right? I buy them and I'm like, okay, these are the next ones. So right now I am going to read God is Red by Deloria, I believe that's his name. He's a Native American author, professor, and really amazing teacher. And so he has this book. He has a lot of them. He's got something like Custer is Dead. He's got some amazing books, but his books are really political and very informative for anyone that lives anywhere throughout the world, but also if you're living in the United States. I think he's a very amazing author. Definitely plan to read a lot of his other books. I got it recommended from my friend of mine, Raquel Gonzalez. She's a co-author editor of Voices of the Ancestors. She just put out a book with different artists talking about this spirituality and spiritual practices. You should get that book. Actually, pretty amazing. Yeah. And so
I think all of our listeners should get all of these books.
And it's pretty much all artists talking about the spiritual practices from if they want to, Latinx, Afro Latinx, they even have a lot of the traditional stuff, but there's also the African diaspora that has been integrated into Latin America as well. So the different practices of artists. So it's pretty much artists wrote this book, and it's get it. So that and my art is in there. My little glyphs, you see it in the book, in the chapters. And then right now I have this book by reprogramming and transforming. I forgot the name of the title. Oh my God, he's gonna come. Is by teacher Siddiqui Bakari. He's an African culturalist and writer, and I got this book from him. And he is the and he this is more like a little small self-help book, and so it's sort of you have to do writing. So that kind of book, I'm not reading it through fully. What I'm doing is, just writing the questions, like what are the things that, what are your obstacles, or what are the things that you need to work on. It's just a self-help book. It's real simple. It's very metaphysical. It's very cosmic. It uses sacred geometry. It talks about the ancestors. And so those little kind of books kind of help me out, because I don't have a therapist, so that I'm doing my own self-therapy. So that helps me navigate and stay sane. And during these times, so it's just really a way for me to check in. So yeah, so those are the books right now that I'm emerging in.
Well, I mean, and I obviously I ask that because I want to know, Danny wants to know, our listeners want to know, so they have some stuff that they can dig into. We can all dig into as well. Exactly. And just thinking about what we have to do for ourselves as artists, and bringing up the ideas of, not having a retirement plan, and knowing that, we're working in what is called the gig economy for the most part, and thinking about that, and bringing up again how I feel like, I've just seen you sustain and maintain and thrive over all of these years. And I think one of the main things for me, as an arts equity advocate, I look into different organizations that can help with those things, as far as helping us understand how to plan for the future, because we can do that. We can create our retirement plans. We can actually build these, the information. This is in the artist way as well, I believe, or maybe it's actually in Just to Get Your Shit Together, which is a book.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, estate planning. And for example, how we can, working within this the US economy, how can we actually create income from what we have brought in, so that we don't have to struggle and worry about where we're going to live, how we're going to eat, how we're going to pay our medical bills, how we're going to travel to, experience what we need to feed our creativity. And a couple of those places that I'm working with right now, and that I'm listening to and figuring out, how do we as artists advocate for ourselves? One of them is WAGE, Working Artists Greater Economy, giving information and foundational points as to what we should charge, what our rates should be for what we're doing. And then another organization that is coming up and taking information from a document that was created in 1971 by Seth Sieglaub, I believe that's how you pronounce that artist's name, which is about having sustainable contracts for artists, and how we actually can receive the residuals for our work that's being sold again and again and again. And these are the type of resources that we have to use, so that we can't establish this as the norm. Because right now the norm is to misuse artists and not to give us what we should be getting, to have a thriving, sustainable livelihood economically. And those are things for me that are very important. Like Danny and I were talking about this the other day. I just purchased a life insurance policy. Within that life insurance policy, I have money that goes into mutual funds. And so that's one of my avenues to building a revenue stream, so that when, I get into, my later stages of my life, when I'm an elder, I can dip into that. I also have been looking into estate planning. Like, how am I going to ensure that my work is going to the proper people when I pass? My philanthropic work is going to the proper people when I pass, because I don't want it to get into the wrong hands. And I don't want my legacy, if I have kids or, my family, to not benefit from these people who are benefiting from my work. So contracts are very important. I think these are things that we have to consistently talk about to ensure that artists know we do have this in our hands, and we can actually make sure that we are thriving and that our children and grandchildren and great grandchildren are thriving from the works that we create. So, you know, just seeing you over the years sustain, I've always looked at you as a role model in that. I'm serious. It's just been amazing. I remember you always saying, you know, get these prints made. You can sell these prints and you can sell them for this much. You could go to this place and sell them here and do this and do that. And just seeing you get your work out there in that way. So it's always been inspirational, and everything Lily has been in my life, just completely inspirational, in how she works her magic.
Yeah. So can I integrate something about that conversation?
Yeah.
First of all, yes, definitely all of that, you're right on point, and definitely that's something that many artists should tap into. What I have learned throughout my lifetime, and I wasn't always good with money. And I tell you why, because I wasn't taught that, as a young kid, even though I was taught to make money because I come from a family of merchants. That's why probably I'm good at it. I sold in swap meets, I did all kind of, with my family in the mornings, did all that. But what I did learn, when I was young, and a young artist, I would say, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke. Finally, I cut that artist, and I heard that from a lot of artists, and I've heard them, I hear them when I hear them, I'm broke, oh, I'm broke, I can't afford it. All that negative language, first of all, has to go.
Yes.
It's like that. And I learned it, and it was so hard for me at first because I was used to saying it and I believed it.
Yeah.
I believed the system was against me, which in many ways it is, but I kept perpetuating that energy, even by just language, right? Word is very powerful.
Yep.
And so that's energy. So I kept, and I was always freaking broke. I mean, there's times that I didn't have nothing and I cried on the sidewalk, like I couldn't get food stamps, like I've been in really down and out situations where it's like I cried, because I wanted to live the life that I didn't choose but was meant to live, right? And so then I finally worked on not using that that language and correcting myself. Even to this day, I still correct myself with certain words, And so then I was like, okay, so I worked on that. And then I still kept having issues. So even though I had some flow and things are happening, like, what is going on with me and money? I get this money, things happen, and then I share it, of course. And then I'm in another roadblock. And it's like, what's going on with me and money, And so I really started looking into that. So I ran into, actually on KPFK, I heard this lady, I forgot her name, but she did a book, and I recommend reading it. It's called The Soul of Money. And she also has this an audio on YouTube. I put that damn video on replay like 20 times. I don't know how many times. And I was like, I want to know how she's moving energy, how she's moving money. And it talks about philanthropy and all those things. So, and how money works, right? So then I tapped into that, right? Into the cultural aspect of energy and money and abundance. So then I tapped into that, and then I said, okay. And then I tapped into like self-help videos of like how to do savings, and they're not geared for artists, they're just for mainstream workers, right? That have credit card debt and all this stuff, right? And so then I started tapping into these life coaches, money life coaching, and how to do budget savings. And you know what, I never did a fucking budget sheet until just like, not too long ago, maybe like 2-3 years ago, like I started doing budget sheets, like I'm like, okay, I have to do a budget sheet. And you know what? Visually it works. I'm an artist. I have to write things down. I am a manual artist, I'm still old school cut and paste. I'll cut papers and I glue them. I swear. I'm not even lying to you. Like then so I'm a manual person. So I had to write it down. So I wrote down, saw it, and I was like, okay, this is where I am not being careful with my flow, where I could use it at, I could be more not frugal, but more diligent in how I do that. And so when like I want to do a vacation, I'm going to do a vacation, I'm going to do this, I'm going to say I have a budget, or I'm doing that, or I'm not going to buy that right now because it's not in my budget. Not that I can't afford it, is that it's not in my budget because I have a plan. So once we start changing that and we start allocating the things like you said you're doing your mutual funds, you allocate it in your budget to commit to that. And it's about commitment, committing to yourself and your long-term goals. And that's something that they don't teach us as artists. We're wild when we're young, we want to be wild, we want to be creative. Woo, like, fuck it, look at let's create, right? Who cares? Let the world fucking go down, have fun when this shit blows up, like good old Jim Morrison, and I'm saying. So I'm like, that's how I lived my life for a long time. And I did make it, and I had abundance coming, but I didn't manage it as good as I should have, and I made wrong decisions with contracts, or I undersold myself, because I was desperate, and the thing about in the United States, what I noticed is art is not as valued as much as where there's some communities, or like Philadelphia, the mural capital now, and just San Francisco, there's certain little areas that do value the artists, but that's just very few. We don't have cultural centers in every district of our society. In Mexico, you have like say a third world country like Mexico, they have el edificio de Bellas Artes, right? It's all dedicated to art and culture. I mean, and every municipio in Mexico, you have an old art and culture house or space, pretty much, right? So you live in Mexico City. So yes, and so when I went to Mexico and I did these murals, boom, we put in the petition book. I got scaffolds, DJ, media. The students came in. We did it was on. There was no like questioning, like, how are you gonna do? Oh my God, we got this red tape. It wasn't as much red tape at all. It was just, we did the proposals, we did the proper means, and it was done. And over here, I was like, oh my God. And then I went to a Casa de Cultura, like, we don't have that. We don't value our art and our arts and culture like other countries do. And that's just in Mexico, because I haven't been to other cultural spaces throughout the world, which I imagine is pretty much the same. Because in Mexico, you also have a lot of intercultural and transnational work with, like, say, Germany, Japan, France, and a lot of European countries and other countries that they also work with Latin America, with like from Venezuela to Chile, Cuba, and different countries. They do integrative and international fellowships with artists. And they have those kinds of things there. Over here is very limited. You have certain fellowships through what's that big one, National Endowment of the Arts, right? But it's very limited.
Well, also limited. Exactly, because it's not for individuals either, the NEA.
No. And then they're also for organizations, so it's like, so there's a lot of red tape in our the way they view art as indispensable, because now you have super graphics, now you have people doing stuff on computers, and so it's sort of even also replacing a lot of our work too, and unfortunately that's happening too. So that also happened with the music, right? So our platforms are being also hijacked with super graphics, even murals, right? Or even art as well. People are like, oh, they're artists now with their graphic art. Okay, nothing with graphic artists. I think they have a talent too, but it's nothing like actual manual arts, right? Like working with your hands.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah, everyone thinks they're a graphic designer and photographer these days.
Yeah,
especially my students, and I'm like,
it's annoying. It's pretty annoying, actually. But you said super graphics. Yes. Is it possible to define that for our listeners, for super graphics?
Well, super graphics is like when it's these big vinyl murals that are produced on and pasted on walls, right? So now you don't have the artists going up on scaffolds actually painting. They go up on scaffolds, but they don't even do it. They're contracted by these contractors. They just put glue on it and they just paste them up on the walls, and they're huge and they're big murals. There's just those are super graphics.
Okay.
They don't even paste them on the wall. They just actually bungee them or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So about these budgets related to that.
Mm-hmm.
Budgets.
Yeah.
Can I
Budget.
also put can I put a quick plug in?
Yeah.
I've actually been working with an organization. It's a nonprofit based out of Austin, Texas called Artly World. And they have an artist relief project right now. And we've actually been providing free courses for any artists who've been impacted by the pandemic. So that's like all artists, right? And free courses. And one of the courses that we've been providing, I don't lead this one specifically, but it's been on budgeting, financial planning.
Very
so I strongly recommend that for our listeners. It's free. Membership is free. Everything is free.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I've been doing other workshops, but that one I strongly recommend to our listeners. Yeah.
That's really good because the California Arts Council here, they charge. Like, and I'm like, they should be doing this shit for free.
I know.
Like it's, I don't
and
even
our classes
bother.
are open.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I've had students from all over the world, actually, not just from in the United States. Like they are taught in English.
It's just basic concepts, no matter where you're at.
Yeah. And so budget.
Budgets.
These damn budgets, like related to everything we're talking about. And you just brought up LA and how they're like, "Ooh, pay for this." So what was the question? I want to start because we had a lot of questions about LA and budget cuts and budgets. So talking about Los Angeles, what was that question, Danny? The one about
Boyle Heights Angel. I want to know more about the Boyle Heights Angel because something actually I should have mentioned earlier too. Liliflor, you also do like costumes, you do jewelry, you do regalia, you do performances. It's not just murals and paintings, right? So I would love for you to talk about this piece because I think in my mind, this is the perfect example of artivism in action.
Yes. I do like I do, I do costuming and I create a characters depending on what I'm feeling, right? So this one I did a couple years ago. The first one that I did, the prototype, was for a film. I think I sent you that one, the one with you see the American flag going down. So it's for a video, an artivist video. And it was definitely against imperialism, but so I did this angel wings, and then I recreated, I made it bigger for a Dia de los Muertos show called Ofrendas at Galeria de Nopal Gallery in I think they were in Echo Park area, kind of McCarthy Park. Oh my god,
like the cactus.
Yeah, the cactus. Nopal, yeah.
Okay.
Nopal Gallery. Okay, yeah. So oh my god, he's gonna kill me. I gotta get it right. Anyway, so so I did this walkway. So it was the artist had to create a 3D, like piece on Dia de los Muertos, a carrying altar. So I made this piece, and I brought the time my mom passed away in 2009. And so I just wanted to make a homage to migrants. So that was my initial intention for those wings. And so in the front of it, I did a canvas piece, and I did an LA piece, and it was dedicated to my mother and to all the migrants that have migrated to the city of Los Angeles. So that one I did there. And so what I ended up doing is and then at one point it was exhibited at Mama's Hot Tamales in MacArthur Park. I left it there for a minute, and she had it there when Bohemia Books was open, I think, or a little bit after, about that time. And then I ended up just storing it, and just storing and using it here and there for some altars. And then I this call out came out when they were doing budget cuts, art budget cuts for after school programming. And so I knew that City Hall, they were having they had it in the agenda. And so then I was like, I remember that day, and real clearly, it was early in the morning. I knew it was happening because I had been notified, the day before. I was like, "Are you gonna go?" I'm like, "I don't know," I don't know. I hope all these art organizations, they're gonna go anyway. I'm just work for them. So then I was just laying around, and it's just like in the morning. I woke up early that day, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. And then I thought, I think I'm gonna go and I'm gonna wear this dress and I'm gonna take some signs and I'm just gonna just do it. And then I called my friend. I remember I called my friend Petal, she's one of the awesome graffiti artists from LA. I called her and I said, "What's up, girl? Like I'm gonna wear this. I want to wear this dress. You want to come help me? You know, like gonna need help putting it on really fast in front of City Hall because I need to get in with this big ass wings, right?" So then we made a plan, you know, and so she came with me and it's just so I can help me slip it on real quick. We had a plan. I had it. I was all ready. And when the cops pulled up in front of City Hall, they, you know, they walked up because you can't park there very long because it's so big. I couldn't walk with it for a long, you know, I could have, but like it would have been too hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I needed to get in. So then they pull in and they're like, "Hey, like, you know, you got," and they're like, oh, and then right when they were going in to tell me to get out, they just saw my dress and the wings, and because I had the double doors, so they were kind of covering a little bit. And so then they saw, they're like, "Oh my God, so beautiful. Oh, we'll walk you in." And so I'm like, "Yeah."
What?
So they walked me in.
Oh, wow.
I was like, "Oh my God, I don't have my ID," because you got to get an ID to go into the City Hall and go into the meeting area. I didn't have my ID. They're like,
Angels
"Don't
don't have
worry."
IDs.
They're like, "Don't worry about it." And they even cleared out an elevator. They escorted me up.
Oh.
Like, it was like, so I went in and then I didn't even, there was a big old line. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm late. I'm not going to be able to get in." And they just scurried me right in front of everybody. Like, I didn't have to do line, nothing. They opened the door and I go inside. And then, it was just silence. All of a sudden it was like, la, 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 and it just got silent. And then I go in there, like, oh my God, like eyes on you. So then I go in and I stand, and then my friend's in there. One of my friends, Chose, is there, and a couple other friends were there. Excuse me, artists that were there. And I see some people from different organizations because, you know, everyone, the arts organizations, you kind of know it's who's who or whatever, the directors and, you know, program executives or whatever. So then I go in there and then I see one of my friends, right? And then he's like, "Hey, what's up? Like, are you going to go up there and speak?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to go up there and speak. You're crazy." Like, sorry, the speaking cards were already done, right? Oh, no, they were going to do the last of the speaking cards. No, they were already done. This is what happened. They were already done. So they were closed. So I couldn't go up there and speak if I wanted to. But I did. So what happened is one of my friends, and after they were doing their motions, and finally the art, you know, the budget cut came up, and then you get to, they pick a certain amount of speakers to go up, probably like 4 or 5, I forgot how many in that category, right? And then my friend Yolanda Gonzalez had signed up to be a speaker, and I saw her leave. She had to leave early, but I didn't know she signed up to speak, but I just saw her leave. She left, you know, because it was, you know, I don't know, she just left the room. I guess she probably thought it was too long, and I had seen her leave earlier. Then then her card came up, right? Yolanda Gonzalez. Yolanda Gonzalez. And then my friend, I looked at, he's like, "You're Yolanda Gonzalez." And I'm like, I saw it, kid you not, he even saw it. I looked at him, I said, and he thought the same thing. I'm like, "I'm going, you know, I'm going to be Yolanda Gonzalez," right? So then I looked at it and he's like, "Yeah." And then I kid you not, my wings kind of went forward because they moved, you know, and they just, so then they pushed me forward. So I just started walking, and I'm like, "Yolanda Gonzalez is here." So I went, so then I'm walking, right? I have my signs, you know, like, and the budget cut. I forgot which ones I had. I had my signs that I made. And so then I walked up. As I was walking, I saw not a pin drop. I couldn't hear anybody. Like, it was just got quiet. And I was going up, and then I just went from my heart and I spoke from my heart and why they shouldn't, like, cut these programs, you know, very important. Of course, I wasn't getting paid to do that, and I didn't get the amount that I should deserve to get paid, but the kids didn't deserve to have these programs cut off because they're so vital in so many ways, you know, and especially underserved communities, you know, that I was working in and that I grew up in, and I know how these programs help the kids, right? So I went up there and I spoke from my heart, and it made the LA Times pretty much front page of the culture section.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh my God, is that you? The next day, I didn't even know it, you know. So then they put and then I know they had put Yolanda Gonzalez, and then the LA Times writer came up to me and asked me, oh, did you verify I'm Yolanda Gonzalez? And I'm like, I'm not Yolanda Gonzalez. but he made it right. He made it right in the actual article. He put my name. So yeah, that's what happened with that. So that's what we call interventionist work, right? That's I'm also see myself as a guerrilla interventionist artivist. Also, I've done many things like that. That's one of them.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Can I read a quote from that article?
Yeah,
I love
go
this
for it.
one
I don't even
quote
know.
from Danielle. There's they had interviewed another woman, Danielle Brazel, who I don't know if she's still the executive director of the arts advocacy group Arts in LA. She might still be, I don't know. But she'd said in the article, this is the first time the arts community was able to mobilize in such an effective way, which I find funny because it sounds really spontaneous. And then she said that the arts had locked arms and we were one community, and that was extraordinary. And that's extraordinary. And yeah, so I was wondering, you know, this sounds so spontaneous, where I had thought this was a really planned out attack. I don't like to use that word attack, but like that this was a really planned out thing.
Yeah, let's not use the word attack.
Right. And that, did you feel like having it been so spontaneous, but it clearly all the energy was flowing the way it was supposed to be, do you feel like it was successful in the end?
I feel it did. It made an impact because it made the front page. It made the front page of the culture section, and then they folded, that page got folded in front of the actual newspaper, the LA Times. So I was right there with an angel wing on the podium in LA City, you know? So it was very impactful in that way visually. But also it was impactful that a lot of organizations were there. But I think also, I don't gonna credit myself for that. But of course it's everyone's work. The political work behind it, and everyone unifying that one day, because everyone was always in competition to get that grant, you know? So they were all together, right? But I think also the visual impact was very impactful to make a decision. And I think that really, I feel that it did. And people told me that it did. And at first I wasn't accepting that, but you know what, I really, in retrospect, I really feel that also my presence in that way was very impactful. And I was surprised that a lot of artists or teaching artists were not there. There were some teaching artists, but not at the capacity that I thought that they would have been there, right? That should have been there. And if there was more artists like myself that showed up with their own artivism and their own creativity, it would have been off the boat. You know what I mean? She would have been, but it did highlight it to tenfold. It really did. It highlighted it, but it didn't mean that I did the work. But yes, it was really good that happened, and it happened spontaneously. And I don't know. That's how things happen sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's true. That story was just amazing. Like I didn't even know that full story, so it was great to hear it. The full story.
I wish they'd given more in the LA Times. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to hear more about like what were the decisions after that? And that was like back in 2010, right? So like what's been going on since then?
Well, they took it off. They didn't do the cuts. They moved it back, and they didn't go through. It didn't go through.
Oh, well, what about right now in 2020, 2021? Because I know earlier you said that, you know, they're charging artists to take classes during this pandemic.
Well, right now they cut all the residencies. People were already struggling with their organizations to raise funds. You know, every year these nonprofit art programs do fundraisers just to sustain, you know, as well. So they cut, and it sort of became an opportunity for them to do that. And so they did, and they only have a handful of artists that they select or that they have. And those are the ones that are teaching online Zoom classes to their their participants or constituencies, that the people that they serve, you know. But a lot of artists got cut off because now you could just have one artist doing 5 classes. You don't need to hire, you know, and rotate them because they're need traveling, you know. So it's like they have cut us off because one, they also been struggling. So yeah, and they supposedly said they're like this bill. I don't know if you saw right before 2020, like in December, or was it November? Um, it was right before the year ended. Forgot what month it was. That the state of California passed X amount of money in the millions for art and arts programming, but I haven't seen anything yet. The money might be funneling in soon, and that means there's probably going to be work, but I'm not sure how that's happening or how it's playing out as of now.
Wow.
That's the 411.
Danny, do you mind if I have we don't have that much time left at all, in the seconds, really.
I know, sorry.
No. What? This has been just amazing conversation. And one of the things, though, directly connected to what you were saying, Lily, is about how the arts helps the children, especially within the underserved communities. And one of the other things that you said in that LA Times article was that art saved you. And I'm very curious as to the moment in which you realized art saved your life, especially in understanding as a grown woman how this helps children. What was that moment in which you realized that it saved your life?
Wow. Well, it started back in the day in mid-city, South Central Los Angeles. I was taking the RTD, the rough, tough, and dirty from in LA. Now it's the MTA. But that was in 1985. Okay. I'm gonna be 50. But like in 1985, I was taking the bus because my mom was like, you ain't gonna go to no manual arts, you're gonna get bused over. So I said, all right. So then I took the bus. It was like an hour and a half, 2-hour ride to get there from Normandy all the way to Slauson, Florence, or Gage, you know. So I take those buses. I rotate because I wanted the life experience of Los Angeles, right? At that time. And at that time is when I started seeing like public art projects by graffiti crews. And of course, Lily joined in the fun. I wasn't in no graffiti crew. I was just writing solo, but I would, write with different people. And I was very immersed. I got immersed in that culture. And that really helped to nourish my own creativity, which I already was doing as a young child, but it really let me see how people were doing it. And that's again was hip hop graffiti culture at that time, hip hop, culture, which had also graffiti, right? And that's where the tagging and all that. Then I got out of hand. Then you had all these things that happened during that time. Then you had the 80s, the crack pandemic, and then you had the Batarams in the community. So it's a lot of like violence was happening too at the time. So it was very influenced in my life like that. Not always a positive. I got in trouble a lot. And but eventually I was able to get out of that negative space through creativity, and that was really nourishing my art later on. And when I was like 19 years old, where I said, I really want to do this, is what I'm gonna do. I did not as a profession yet, but this is what I want to continue doing. But I knew that at that time that's what saved me. Art saved me from the streets. And that's why I said that, because it's from a real experience. Because I mean, I was going on G rides. I was like doing some shit that, oh yeah. When I was like 16 till I was almost 19. I was doing excellent in school. I was in drama, dance. I mean, I was in ASB, government, and people, I was writing in from South Central. People knew, hey, what's up, Chola? What's up? Don't get in trouble. But I was very my academics were great, but everything else in my life at home and the structure wasn't, not that it was violent. My mom was excellent, but it was just the environment. I just immersed with it. I went with it. And so I kind of lived a double eclectic world, you know, because I dabbled in many worlds through just riding the bus and bus culture. You know, I met different people, you know, and I actually was, and that's why I'm grateful of how eclectic I had grown into in my own life, you know. So that's where my influence comes. Yeah. And so that's where the art saved me. Yeah. Well, there was a drive-by in my house where there was a drive-by, was just guns were shot through my house. It was like 3 neighborhoods right where I lived, right? And so one of the gunshots went through, and my niece was laying down on the bottom in the living room watching TV. Luckily, she was down there and not standing up, or anyone in there, there would have been, it would have went right through, right? So that was the moment when, of course, my mom was like, "We're out of here," and within a week we were done. And I just decided then that I was just not going to put my family in danger. 1, 2, that I was going to immerse myself in the arts, and that's what I did.
Man, damn, wow.
Yeah,
I mean, we
don't know that, but yeah,
we've talked about some things, but like, you know, you always learn about someone that you've known for a long time, and so just learning even more about just this beautiful person you are, this beautiful being that you are. I'm so blessed to know you. I mean, it's really amazing. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
Then thank you for sharing that too. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. I know our listeners are
Your
like,
story is
wow,
really inspiring.
Yeah, it really is.
Thank you.
That's why I said sorry before. I'm sorry that we have to end the podcast.
It's okay. It's okay.
We might just have to have another round with Lily.
Yes, I think so. I think so.
So, you know, we might have to do that. Danny,
we could do that when my new projects. We could do that.
Okay,
that's what I was thinking, because we didn't get a chance to really talk about what you're doing right now. So maybe we need to bring it back.
Yeah, no, yeah. This is how it goes, right? Again,
I'm producing a planner, organizer. So
see, yeah. So then,
that'll be second part.
So hear that, audience. Lily will be returning. Okay, Danny, I know we have a question to close out with. However, since it's Black History Month, I need to ask this question. Lily, you did a painting, the MLK painting. I saw it on Instagram.
Let me tour you. Hold on.
Yeah, please. Let's see that, because it is Black History Month. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if you could show that to us and just chat up just a little bit, just give us a little bit, because people can see it online as well. But it would be nice for the folks who are watching to see that right now, and the folks who are listening, please go online. And you know, we'll talk about where you can connect with Lily online a little bit later. But yes, Lily, please.
Gosh, your space is huge. It's amazing.
So nice. Oh, wait a minute, the ceiling. Oh my God.
I just
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
That's lovely.
Thank you for this tour. And there's MLK Jr.
There it is.
There we go. All right. So tell us what made you do that work on that day.
So I did this piece, I did it last year for MLK Festival in Lamar Park.
Oh, okay.
I was hired by the council member Marquise and his crew to actually do an installation. And it was called something, We Are the Future. It was the theme last year. And so I did a 3D installation booth. I don't know if you saw it. It was really dope. I did cardboard cutouts. So I did this whole installation, interactive installation. And then I did light painting on the side. So this was the piece I light painted last year. And 2020. And I didn't finish it. So I brought it here to finish it. But it's going to go to the councilman and just for their office.
Wow. Can we get a close-up of it? Because I was looking at your technique with that, and I was just like, it looks like the paint is floating off of the canvas, like just the colors. Like it's I don't know, what would that be considered? I see the shadows and the grays and the blacks and the whites, but it's as if it's like it's like a puzzle piece almost, like floating. That's
right?
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know. just did it.
That's a great answer.
I don't know.
It's a
you
secret,
know what I
y'all.
wanted to, I actually, my whole thing was to make it move.
And that's what
Right?
it looks like. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like.
Like it's
Yeah.
movement, there's movement, right?
That's what it
And
feels like.
so there's
Mhm.
movement, even though this is like, but even that looks like it's, you know, I don't know. I like it. Just it's just kind of like almost even like a study in many ways, but it's brought me back to my college days. But yeah.
Man. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
During this Black History Month.
And this is the installation. So I'm dedicating every month to doing, well, every season, you know, to keep me going, just doing installations, just changing it up.
See, that's why we gotta, Lily, you coming back, okay? I just want to let you know that, you know what I'm saying? You already said, okay, it was just FYI, okay?
Okay. Can you tell us where people can find you so they can keep up with your installations and all your work?
Oh, yes.
Buy your stuff. Like, how can people buy your art?
Yes, they can buy my art. I'm also at liliflorart.com, but I'm also at page.flow. No, page.flow.
We'll put the link up.
So that one and that one you could find me there, and that has all my links. I also have my DocuSign where you can sign up for my art and healing classes that I'm going to be launching off this spring, and also my YouTube videos too. I also uploaded some of my stuff there. So whenever I get a chance, I when I'm working altars or whatever, I did live there already. So so you can find me there, and also my Instagram, Liliflor Art, or Facebook, Liliflor Art, or Instagram, #Liliflor. That's where you can find me.
Wham, bam, bam.
Yeah.
So, Janet, can we ask our sparkly question now?
Oh my God.
Okay, what's the sparkly question?
Are you ready?
Yes. Hold up. Am I ready? Am I ready?
Are you ready?
Hold up. Not yet.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, you do the countdown.
All right. So on one. Okay.
On one. Okay, ready?
On one. So 3, 2, 1.
Bam.
Oh, nice.
So we have a sparkly gem question for you.
Okay.
I say we do this every episode, but this is actually our first episode. So, so you get to launch our regular checkout question for our guests. We would like to ask our interviewees for a gem. You've already given us so many sparkly gems, so many different resources and suggestions. But what I'm wondering for our closeout, do you have a final suggestion, like a final gem? Maybe it's like a new technique or methodology that you think people should try.
Whatever you think.
I would say helps me navigate as a creative individual. Yeah, right. A gem. I see. I wanted to stand here because it has a gem. You see the gem?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Holding a gem.
And that's just
Right.
that's just amazing. That's just amazing right there. So
that's a gem. So I want to share the gem, since you were saying I want to be sparkly like you guys. So so
your background's way cooler than ours.
Yeah.
I would say to do. Okay, you got me off guard, but I'm gonna say what something that I do as a practice. I've been doing chakra alignments with sound bowls. And so it only takes, you could Google them up, you could Google it. It's called, they have 10-minute ones because my attention span is very low when it comes to yoga, meditation, and affirmations. So I do 10-minute videos of different things and create an actual playlist that's 5 to 10 minutes that you could do a quick check-in so that you ground yourself in for your day. No matter what you're going to do. And I think that's a really important tool right now, especially during these times of uncertainty, anxiety, worry, stress. It really helps to de-stress during these times so that we're able to have more of a clear mind and what what we want to accomplish during the day and make it a successful day so that we start off in a good way. So I feel that that's a good gem for people to start their day with in general, no matter who you are. But as artists, it's a good thing because we get jammed up. Our mind just keeps going, and it's a good way to do that, to center ourselves. That's the gem.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Man, we've kind of set some high expectations for our next interviewees.
Yeah, exactly.
We have so many gems from Liliflor.
That's right, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Congratulations, Janet.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congrats to you too, Liliflor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. So with that said, we will, have to close out this particular show. So
don't cry, Janet. It's okay.
I know. I'm just like, the unicorn and just the sparkles and the gems and stuff. This is just touching. So, but thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we will be asking you when you'll be available again. So please enjoy the rest of your day in Los Angeles. And, we will talk very soon.
Yes, we will. Take care.
All right.
Have a good one and stay creative, everybody.
Yes.
Stay creative, especially during these times. Stay creative.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
All right, Lily. See you later, Alan.
You're welcome.
Bye. Round of applause. Woo! Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Don't forget to find us on social media and to subscribe to our YouTube channel because that's how we know that you love us. No, but seriously, subscribe so you'll always know when to reflect, recalibrate. Oh, also, don't forget to check out the notes to this podcast episode for links to all the resources we reference in this interview, as well as the music and sound effects we feature. We even include details about the fab apparel we're decking out. Don't be shy to hit us up with questions.